occurrence. Sometimes the oppressor's rigidity forces acquiescence. Fatima was not only grieved, but she left this world indignant. Both Bukhari and Muslim wrote, Fatima was indignant with Abu Bakr. She kept aloof from him and did not talk with him for the rest of her life. Fourth, Ali did not, during the period of his caliphate, take possession of Fadak and return it to the descendants of Fatima. This indicated his acquiescence in the decision of the previous caliphs. Even here you would be mistaken. The holy Imam was not free to act during the period of his caliphate, so as to have stopped any innovation or restore any right. Whenever he intended to take such a step, there was immediate opposition. If he had returned Fadak to the descendants of Fatima, his opponents, particularly Muawiyah and his followers, would have claimed that Ali acted against the practices adopted by Abu Bakr and Umar. Besides this, in order to pass such orders, authority and independence were necessary. But people had not allowed him such power. He could not introduce anything that would have violated the precepts and practices of the previous caliphs. Ali's powerlessness is evident from the following two examples. Since the previous caliphs had removed the pulpit from its place where the Prophet had placed it, the Imam intended to return it to its original place. But the people opposed him and would not tolerate anything contrary to the practice of Abu Bakr and Umar, even though it might be compatible with the practice of the Holy Prophet. Similarly, when the Imam forbade the people to offer congregational Taraweeh prayers, they rose against him and claimed that Ali wanted to change the way of Caliph Umar. So how could Ali restore Fadak to the descendants of Fatima? If he had done so and said that it had been unjustly confiscated, the people would have cried that Ali ibn Abi Talib was inclined towards the world and was usurping the right of the Muslims for their own descendants. Hence, he thought it proper to be patient. Since the real claimant had left this world, he suspended his claim to it, so that when the last of the divinely guided Imams comes to restore rights to their just claimants, he will secure his right. In such a state of affairs, the silence of the Imam did not mean that he was satisfied with the decision. If he had considered the action of the previous caliphs just, he would not have argued his case before them. Also, he would not have expressed his anguish and displeasure and would not have invoked Allah to be the arbiter. It is recorded in Naj al-Balagha that Ali, in a letter to the governor of Basra, Uthman ibn Hunayf Ansari, wrote, "Among those things on which the sky casts its shadow was Fadak, which was in our possession. But a group showed niggardliness, and the other side, Fatima, and her descendants, withdrew from pursuing their claim. And the best judge is Allah. If you say that Fatima was satisfied with the decision in the last days of her life and pardoned those responsible for it, I am afraid you are mistaken here. As has been proved beyond doubt earlier through reliable hadith, that oppressed lady remained indignant until she died. To prove my point of view, I should like to submit the following report. 15. Umar asked Abu Bakr to go with him to visit Fatima. They had certainly enraged her. Some reports say that it was Abu Bakr who asked Umar to go with him to visit Fatima. This seems more plausible. In short, both of them went together to the door of Fatima, but she did not allow them to visit her. When they asked Ali to intervene, he remained silent, but he allowed them to go in. When they went in and saluted her, she turned her face to the wall. Abu Bakr said, "O part of the Prophet's liver, by Allah, I value the relationship of the Holy Prophet with you more than my relationship with my daughter, Aisha. Would that I had died soon after the Holy Prophet of Allah. I know your rank and position more than anyone else. If I have deprived you of your right of heritage, it was really because of the Holy Prophet, whom I myself heard saying, we prophets do not leave any heritage. What we leave is charity for the Muslims." Fatima then said to Emir al-Mu'minin that she would remind them of a hadith of the Holy Prophet and ask them to say in the name of Allah if they had not heard the Holy Prophet saying it. Fatima's pleasure is my pleasure, Fatima's indignation is my indignation. So, one who loves my daughter Fatima loves me, one who pleases Fatima pleases me, one who offends Fatima offends me. Both said, "Yes, we heard these words from the Holy Prophet of Allah." Then Fatima said, I call Allah and His angels to witness that both of you have offended me and did not treat me justly. When I meet the Holy Prophet I will certainly complain to him of you both. Single quote. Abu Bakr, being troubled at these words, began to weep and said, I seek Allah's shelter from the Holy Prophet's anger. 16. Fatima began to weep and said, I swear by Allah that I will certainly call down curses upon you in all my prayers. Single quote. After hearing this, Abu Bakr went out, weeping. People gathered round him and consoled him. To them, he said, Woe be to you! You are all happy, sitting with your wives comfortably, but I am in this wretched state. I do not need your allegiance. Rid me of it. By Allah, after what I have seen and heard from Fatima, I do not want any Muslim to suffer the burden of allegiance to me. These reports, related by Sunni notable ulema, show that the oppressed Fatima remained indignant with Abu Bakr and Umar until the last hour of her life. The clearest proof of Fatima's anger in this regard is that she made the following will to her husband, Amir al-Mu'minin Ali, none of those persons who have oppressed me and snatched away my right should be allowed to join my funeral. They are certainly my and the Holy Prophet's enemies. Do not allow any one of them or their associates to offer funeral prayers for me. Bury me at night when people are asleep. Bukhari writes in his Sahih that Ali complied with Lady Fatima's will and buried her at night quietly. People tried their best to find where Fatima was buried, but they could not. It is unanimously accepted that Fatima was, according to her will, buried at night. The Holy Prophet left a single daughter to serve as his memory. The Sunni ulema agree that he said, Fatima is a part of my body. She is my legacy and trust. Respect her as you respect me. Never do anything to incite her anger against you. If she is angry with you, I also will be angry with you. Mir Sayyid Ali Hamadani Faqih Shafi'i writes in his Mawadat ul-Kurba that the Holy Prophet said, Those who grieve Fatima will be strictly dealt with by me on the day of judgment. Fatima's pleasure is my pleasure, and Fatima's anger is my anger. Woe be to him with whom Fatima is indignant. How tragic is it that for all these declarations, the community not only ignored her but also snatched away her right and caused her so intense torment. Even while still a young woman, she declared, I was subjected to so many troubles that if days had been subjected to such troubles, they would have turned into nights. 17. What Amir al-Mu'minin Ali said on the occasion of the burial of Fatima while addressing the Holy Prophet at his grave. O Prophet of Allah, peace be upon you from me and from your daughter, who has come to you and who has hastened to meet you. O Prophet of Allah, my patience about your chosen daughter has been exhausted, and my power of endurance has weakened, except that I have ground for consolation in having endured the great hardship and heartrending event of your separation. I laid you down in your grave when your last breath had passed, when your head was between my neck and chest. Verily we are Allah's, and verily unto him shall we return to. 156. Now, the trust has been returned and what had been given has been taken back. As to my grief, it knows no bounds, and as to my nights, they will remain sleepless till Allah chooses for me the house in which you are now residing. Certainly, your daughter would apprise you of the joining together of your people for oppressing her. You ask her in detail and get all the news about the position. This has happened when a long time had not elapsed and your remembrance had not disappeared. My salam salutation be on you both, the salam of a grief-stricken, not a disgusted or hateful person, for if I go away it is not because I am weary of you, and if I stay it is not due to lack of belief in what Allah has promised those who endure. 18. 1. Yaqut Hamawi, the author of Majam ul-Budan in his Futu ul-Budan, Volume V. p. 343, by Ahmad ibn Yahya Baladuri. Baghdadi died 279 AH in his Tariq. Ibn Abu al-Hadid Mutazili in his Shar and Naj al-Balagha, printed Egypt, Volume IV, page 78, quoting from Abu Bakr Ahmad ibn Abd al-Aziz Jauhari, by Muhammad ibn Jarir Tabari in his Tariq al-Kabir, and by many other traditionists and historians. 2. Ahmad Thalabi in his Kashif ul-Bayan. Jalal ud-Din Suyuti in his Tafsir, Volume IV, reporting from Hafiz ibn Mardawiya. The famous commentator Ahmad ibn Musa died 352 AH, reporting from Abu Sayyid Qadiri and Hakim A. Flat al-Qasim Haskani. Ibn Kathir. Imad ud-Din Ismail. Ibn Umar Damashqi. Faqih al-Shafi'i in his Tiarik, and Sheikh Sulayman Baqi Hanafi in his Yanabi al-Mawada, ch. 39, reporting from Tafsir al-Thalabi, Jam, al-Fawaid and Uyun al-Akbar. 3. In his Kitab al-Saqifa, the great scholar and traditionist, Abu Bakr Ahmad ibn Abd al-Aziz Jauhari, about whom Ibn Abu al-Hadid says in his Shar and Naj al-Balagha that he was one of the eminent ulema and traditionists of the Sunnis. Ibn al-Athir in his Nihaya. Masdi in Akbaruz Zaman and in Azad. Ibn Abu al-Hadid in Shar and Naj al-Balagha, Vol. IV, p. 78, quoting from Abu Bakr Ahmad Jauhari's book Saqifa and Fatik in different ways and from a number of sources, some of which refer to the fifth Imam Muhammad Baqir through Siddiqi Sufra Zainab al-Kubra, and some of which refer to Abdullah ibn Hassan on the authority of Siddiqi Kubra Fatima Zahra and on the authority of Aisha and also on the authority of Muhammad ibn Imran Marzabani, he from Zayd ibn Ali ibn Hussein, he from his father, and he from his father Imam Hussein, and he from his illustrious mother, Fatima Zahra, and many other ulema. 4. Imam Ahmad Hanbal in his Musnad. Imam al-Haram Ahmad ibn Abdullah Shafi'i in his Daqair al-Uqba. Ibn Abu al-Hadid in his Shar and Naj al-Balagha, and Sheikh Sulayman Hanafi in his Yanabi al-Mawada, ch.56, quoting from Ahmad ibn Abdullah, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Qali, and Ibn Saman. 5. It is recorded in Surat al-Halabiyah, page .39, compiled by Ali ibn Burhan ud-Din Halabi Shafi'i, died 1044 AH. 6. Imam Farud-Din Razi in his Tafsir al-Kabir concerning the claim of Fatima. Yaqut Hamawi in his Mu'ajam al-Budan. Ibn Abu al-Hadid Mutazili in Shar Anaj al-Balagha, Vol. IV, page 80, from Abu Bakr Jauhari and the fanatical Ibn Hajar in Sawa'iq al-Murika, page .21, under the heading Shuhubat al-Rafza, 7 Shuba. 7. Imam Thalabi in the commentary. Kashif al-Bayan, Jalal ud-Din Suyuti reporting from Ibn Abbas in his Dur al-Manthur. Hafiz Abu Sayyid Abd al-Malik ibn Muhammad Kargashi reporting from Asma'iz in his Sharif al-Mustafa, and Hafiz Abu Nu'aym Isbahani in his Hilyat al-Aliyah. 8. Sheikh Sulayman Hanafi in his Yanabi al-Mawada, ch. 39, page .1191, reporting from Mawafaq ibn Ahmad Khawarizmi. Hafiz Abu Nu'aym Isbahani, and Hamwaini relates on the authority of Ibn Abbas. 9. Sheikh ul-Islam Ibrahim ibn Muhammad Hamwaini, one of the Sunni eminent scholars, in his Farid as-Simtain. Muhammad ibn Yusuf Ganji Shafi'i in his Kifayatut Talib, ch. 62, and Muhadith Sham in his Tiarik, reporting from his sources. 10. Jalal ud-Din Suyuti in Dur al-Manthur, Hafiz ibn Mardawiya in Manaqib, Hafiz Abu Nu'aym in Hilyat al-Aliyah, Muhammad ibn Yusuf Ganji Shafi'i in Kifayatut Talib, ch.62, and Ibn Asakir in his Tiarik, reporting from a selection of commentators, narrate the following on the authority of Ibn Abbas and Mujahid. 11. The following have all recorded this hadith. Imam Farud-Din Razi in his Tafsir Kabir. Imam Thalabi in Kashif al-Bayan. Jalal ud-Din Suyuti in Dur al-Manthur. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal in the Musnad. Ibn Shirwaya in Firdaus. Ibn Abu al-Hadid in Shar and Naj al-Balagha, Vol. 2, page .451. Ibn Maghazili Shafi'i in Manaqib, and Ibn Hajar Maki in Sawa'iq al-Murika 30th hadith out of the 40 hadith that he has commented on concerning the virtues of Ali, quoting from Bukhari. However, when after the Holy Prophet Abu Bakr attained to caliphate, he decided to go to the mosque in that capacity and to stand in the Prophet's niche so that by this means he might strengthen the pillars of his government and contact the people directly. The first step for the formation of a gathering and the people coming to the mosque while the Prophet was alive was the saying of the Adhan by Bilal inviting them to the mosque. However, Bilal did not say Adhan after the Holy Prophet's demise and was the most sensitive, the most natural and at the same time the most dangerous tactics. that Bilal employed against the caliphate. From that point onwards Bilal did not participate in any official gatherings of theirs. The absence of Bilal, who held a delicate post, from the stage in the society, could make the people think about the problem of the day. The supporters of the caliph thought that if Bilal said the adhan, the hue and cry of the opponents of the caliph would die down and the people would come to the mosque, as they were accustomed to do on hearing the voice of Bilal. The saying of adhan by Bilal could draw a curtain on the intrigue of the administration of the caliphate and deceive the simple-minded and common people. With these thoughts in mind, they located Bilal after a good deal of search and asked him to say the adhan for the prayers. Bilal had been trained in the lap of Islam for 23 years and had been directly concerned with the various events which formed the history of the new nation. He had recognized and accepted Islam with sincerity and had heard what the Holy Prophet had said regarding the leader and leadership. Especially he was aware of the unambiguous remarks of the Holy Prophet about the caliphate of Imam Ali, and knew that the ruling administration had come to power against the orders of Allah and the Holy Prophet. According to his belief, only the commander of the faithful Imam Ali was entitled to attain the caliphate. In the circumstances it is evident as to what reply he was going to give to those who approached him. The messengers of the caliph insisted very much, but Bilal repeated the same reply every time and did not pay any heed to their words. By not saying the adhan, Bilal wished to oblige the people to think about the matter and to remind themselves gradually of the time of the Holy Prophet and the recommendations made by him with regard to Imam Ali, and to his imamate. It was this reason that, when people asked him as to why he did not say adhan, he said in reply after the Holy Prophet of Islam, "I shall not say the adhan for another person." On the other hand, non-participation of the commander of the faithful Ali, Salman, Abu Dhar, Zubair, Bilal, Miqdad, Sohaib, etc. in the gatherings which were usually formed in the mosque, strengthened Bilal's stand and became the cause of the people doubting the rightfulness and legality of the ruling body and even objecting to it. The administration of the caliphate was scared and worried because of the stand taken by Bilal and tried to make him and other opponents surrender. It was in this state of fear that the caliph sent some people formally to Bilal to make that obstinate and inflexible black man surrender to the caliphate at any costs by means of promises, threats, or allurement of money and position. However, Bilal was not prepared to ignore the truth and to do as the Romans do. He saw Islam personified in Imam Ali, and believed that even if the recommendation of the Holy Prophet had not been there, no one except Imam Ali was fit for the caliphate. He was convinced that true Islam was the same that was put forward by Imam Ali, and his friends though few in numbers. He, who had borne hardships and suffered torture for the same Islam, could not now see it as a plaything of material desires and of the administration of the caliphate. He, therefore, gave a clear-cut reply to the representatives of the caliph in these words: "I shall not say the adhan for anyone except the person whom the Holy Prophet selected as his successor." At last Umar, who was a close friend of the Caliph Abu Bakr and was considered to be the most important factor for his selection as caliph and great supporter of his continuance in that office, decided to discuss the matter with Bilal personally. When Umar saw Bilal, he was thinking, "Now I shall make him surrender and shall take him out of the fold of the opponents of the caliph." After salutation and exchange of compliments, Umar said, "O Bilal, why have you left us alone these days? I was very keen that you should be with us so that we could entrust you with some tasks. Why don't you come to the mosque? We expect you to say adhan and call the people to the mosque to offer prayers with the caliph of the Holy Prophet. I understand that you have said that you will no longer say adhan. Why so? Do you remember that this very Abu Bakr delivered you from the servantry of an persecution by your cruel master? Is it proper that you should abandon him now and should not say adhan for him?" Bilal began recollecting the past events of history, like persecution in the period of his banishment and homelessness, his migration to Medina, military engagements with the infidels and the polytheists, conquest of Mecca and the passing away of the Holy Prophet. He said to Umar, "How happy were the days when the Holy Prophet was among us and invited the people to Allah and justice. And how hard Dark and calamitous these days are. With what conditions are we confronted? Bilal turned the conversation to the matter under discussion, and while tears were flowing down his cheeks he continued to say, "Let us see whether Abu Bakr purchased me for the sake of Allah and set me free for the sake of Allah, or he had some other motive. If he did all of this for the sake of Allah, he does not enjoy any right on me, and if he did not act for the sake of Allah, I am still his servant and under his control, but I am free in the matter of faith. And as I have already said, I am not going to say Adon for any other person after the Holy Prophet. Furthermore, I am going to swear allegiance only to that person whose allegiance is my responsibility. I accept only that person as caliph who has been nominated by the Holy Prophet as his successor. And then I say to you, if Abu Bakr had not purchased me and set me free on that day, and I would have died in that condition, because I was then certainly a true believer and would have gone to paradise. But in the present circumstances, when you want me to participate in this matter, I do not know whether I am destined to go to paradise or hell, and whether or not I can preserve my faith." Umar was very much annoyed on hearing these words and cast on Bilal a harsh, angry look full of scorn. After a few moments he got up and went away much agitated. All the plans of the administration of the caliphate for making Bilal surrender were frustrated, and it could not cause the slightest damage to his firm determination. He persevered fearlessly, did not listen to the promises made with him, remained undaunted in the face of threats, and did not surrender. In view of the stand taken by Bilal and the sensitiveness that had been created in the society owing to his refusing to take the oath of allegiance to Abu Bakr, the administration of the caliphate drew its last plan to punish him. As it was feared that some people might join him and trouble might increase, one of those present suggested that it would be better if Bilal was exiled from Medina to a place distant from the capital, so that by this means the hue and cry might come to an end and the people might forget him. However, the advisors of the caliph said, "If we exile him openly, we shall be blamed more. It is possible that Imam Ali may object to it. In that event our action will produce a result contrary to that desired by us. It will, therefore, be better if he is subjected to threats and torture so that he may be compelled to leave Medina of his own free will." This scheme was approved by the majority vote, and accordingly Bilal was tortured during day and night and subjected to threats of death. At last, he received a message on these lines: "Either you should swear allegiance to Abu Bakr and say Adon, or quit Medina." Some historians have written thus: Umar said to Bilal, "Now that you do not say Adon, you should not remain in Medina so that you may not become the cause of corruption of others," and he subjected Bilal to pressure. Thus, the spokesman of the movement of Islam was placed in a strange predicament. On the one hand, it was difficult for him to forsake the city of the Prophet, and on the other hand it had also become impossible for him to stay there. He pondered as to whether he should stay on in Medina or resist the pressure. After all, how could he abandon Medina, the tomb of the Holy Prophet, his master, as it was the city of his friend with many remembrances? However, he was obliged to prefer going away from there so that possibly he might persuade the people more to think about the current and unsatisfactory affairs, and they might resort to objection, criticism, and occasionally disobedience, and possibly the usurped right might return to its owner. This had to be done because there was no other remedy. If he had stayed on in Medina, it would have been necessary for him to agree with the rulers, and he would have to explain the existing situation in his own stand. If he had stayed on, he would have to confirm the actions of the government, and this was impossible for Bilal, because in his opinion these actions were unjust. He decided to go to Syria and got ready for the banishment come what might. Before deciding to leave Medina, Bilal had consulted the family of the Holy Prophet. When he got ready to depart, he first of all went to see and say farewell to Imam Ali. This meeting took place in a very disturbing atmosphere, and the Imam was much moved. Tears were rolling on the cheeks of Bilal like pearls, and perhaps he was saying, "If I had the option I would not at all have gone away from you in the tomb of the Holy Prophet. I hope that I shall return." Then he visited the tomb of the Holy Prophet in a state of extreme sadness and kept weeping for a long time. He said, "O honorable Prophet of Islam, you yourself are aware of how sad days we are passing in What a strong blow has been struck on the body of your religion. O Prophet of Allah, I have in fact been compelled as a consequence of the ever-increasing pressure of the administration of the Caliphate to go away from your city to Syria. At the time of dawn of that night Bilal departed from Medina and proceeded to Syria. At last, after surmounting various difficulties faced by him on the way between Medina and Damascus, Bilal completed the journey. When he came near Damascus he stopped for a moment and stared at the city with surprise and said to himself, "What a dull and sad city it is. It appears that death has cast its shadow everywhere. O Lord, how can I live here? I have been thinking that the journey has come to an end, and I can take rest for a while, but now I have become more tired and sad. O Lord, what should I do? I ought to put up with their condition and remain patient while I am away from my master Imam Ali and his faithful companions. When I have borne all these inconveniences, how can I live here as I did in the past?" Bilal proceeded to the gate of the city with a very heavy heart and located a place for himself after a good deal of wandering and searching. Bilal was pleased and satisfied because he had been able to withstand the oppression and strength of the powerful persons and to speak the truth. He thanked Allah and prided himself on his own existence, on seeing that his very being was dangerous for the rulers and they feared even his silence. Bilal resided in Damascus for some time. Though he himself was in Damascus, his soul was in Medina. He was continuously thinking about some solution of the problem. At last, he lost patience and decided to return to Medina so that he might see the family of the Prophet and his honorable Imam once again. He also thought the political condition of the government would not consider his return to be expedient, and it was possible that they might restrain him. However, as he had taken a decision, he said to himself, "I shall perform this journey even though it may cost me my life." Bilal left Damascus with great courage and enthusiasm and special attachment to the Prophet's family. The path which seemed to be long at the time of his starting the journey was covered soon. He reached near Medina and saw the quiet spectacle of the city. He saw the walls of the Holy Prophet's mosque from a distance and recollected the sweet memories of the past. He sighed and tears began to flow from his eyes. After his arrival in the city, Bilal went immediately to the tomb of the Holy Prophet. The spies also saw Bilal and thought of arresting him. However, they did not consider it expedient to do so, but went to the authorities and reported the arrival of Bilal to them. The authorities were scared and worried on hearing this news. On the other hand, this news reached Lady Fatima az-Zahra, the beloved daughter of the Holy Prophet, and in the meantime, Bilal came to know that she was not in good health. The news distressed him, and he began humming by the side of the tomb of the Holy Prophet. "O Prophet of Allah, after you the world has become dark and imamate has been converted into caliphate and people who are not fit for this position have usurped it. O Prophet of Allah, I have come to know that your daughter is not in good health. O Prophet of Allah, your successor Ali is staying at home. By means of his silence he is preserving the exaltation of Islam and the unity of the Muslims. O Prophet of Allah, I have just returned from my journey to Syria. I had been exiled there then due to acute disturbance of mind." Bilal fell on the ground and became unconscious. After the demise of the Holy Prophet, his only daughter Fatima, who dearly felt the separation of her beloved father, gradually became ill. And when she heard that Bilal had returned to Medina, she expressed the desire that he should say Adhan once again. Time for noon prayers approached. The muezzin of the Holy Prophet went on the roof of the mosque and began to say Adhan with his loud voice as he had been doing in the recent past. He said Allahu Akbar. On hearing the voice of Bilal, the first muezzin of the Holy Prophet, the people of Medina came out of their houses and proceeded to the mosque. All of them wondered as to how Bilal was saying Adhan again after the death of the Holy Prophet. A few moments later a larger number of people gathered in the mosque and Bilal continued to say Adhan. When Bilal pronounced takbir loudly and Lady Fatima heard it in her house, she was reminded of the glorious and sweet days of her father's time. She sighed and began to weep. Her children also joined her in weeping. When Bilal said Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, Lady Fatima wept more bitterly. However, when the Adhan reached the delicate stage, she lost her sense. Owing to intense grief, Bilal was, therefore, advised to stop saying Adhan at once, because the life of Lady Fatima az-Zahra was in danger.